What is up guys, and welcome back to Above the Middle, the place where we talk about all things personal development with me, Joe Gibson. This week we are talking about the false self. Now I'm going to start a new series about authenticity because I find this subject fascinating, mainly because of my own journey and my own development into my own authentic self. But I really wanted to go into the nitty-gritty details on authenticity, where issues arise where we feel like we can't express ourselves authentically, why that happens, where this false self plays in, and ultimately how to start moving ourselves away from that false self into our fullest authentic expression. So to start off this series, we're talking about the false self. So if you feel like you can't express yourself authentically, there is likely a false self that you are portraying to the world. So if this sounds interesting to you guys, and please keep watching, we're going to talk about the origins of the false self. So let's get started. What is the false self? So the false self is a self that you develop as a child that you feel you need to present to the world in order to get your needs met. So when you're a young child, you're obviously extremely dependent on your parents to get your needs met. It's just the fact that the human brain is not developed enough when you're young to be able to do things that you need to do for yourself. If you could, then there'd be babies walking around and feeding themselves and doing all that sort of stuff. But they can't. So this relationship with your caregiver, mainly with the mother, is highly influential on the child's personality and behaviour development. If we look at children, you can just tell straight away how authentic they are. When you look at kids running around, when you look at toddlers or babies in their cribs, they're doing whatever the hell they like, because at that age they're at their purest form of authentic expression. So especially young infants and toddlers, they're going to cry when they need to cry, they're going to be angry when they need to be angry, they're going to be expressive whenever they feel the need to be expressive. The baby's going to express their needs and they're going to expect the parent to tend to those needs. Now I'm paraphrasing with all this to say that this isn't to bash any parent, because parents are just human beings like the rest of us. As you grow older, you kind of start to realise that. You realise your parents aren't the superheroes you thought they were. They're actually just regular human beings with their own issues, their own problems. So obviously if the parent is having issues, is having financial issues, mental health issues, any sort of problem, that is going to probably impact the relationship that they're having with their child. So the example that I will use for this is maybe a baby is crying out because they need their mum's attention. But maybe the parent has had a really long day in work and they feel tired and they feel exhausted and they don't enjoy their job and they hate their boss. So when they get home, they don't want that child to act that way. And they'll tell the child, stop crying, stop being angry, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear what you need to cry about. Essentially what they're doing in that situation is they're telling the child that their authentic expression is not right. You can't cry, you can't be expressive because I don't like that. Even though that those behaviours from the child are basic human emotions, they're basic human reactions. And because the child is so dependent on the caregiver, the child will begin suppressing those parts of themselves in order to get their needs met. The child is going to think, right, I can't be angry, I can't be sad because my parent doesn't like this. So I'm going to push down those emotions, I'm going to push down that part of myself, push down that authentic self, and instead I'm going to act a different way. So maybe when I'm angry or when I'm sad, I'm just going to act nice because I'm trying to appease the parent. Because I know if I show that I am angry or if I'm sad, my parent isn't going to accept that. So this is where the false self begins to show. So of course this can come into play in many different scenarios, and there are many different variables that come into play here. And Donald D.Winnicot, who proposed this false self theory, talks about the need for the parent to be good enough. And this is why the parent does not have to be the perfect parent who tends to all the children's needs, but they need to at least tend to most of their needs, or show up most of the time and appease their authentic expression. Because when they begin to show the child that they don't accept certain parts of them, which are basic human needs, the child is going to alter their behaviour in order to appease the parent. So another example of this could be a child who is growing up in a society that does not accept homosexuality. So as that child grows up, it's going to take in mental cues from the environment, and it's going to think to itself, right, I'm seeing all this information out there that being homosexual is not right, that there is something wrong in that. And if they start to develop homosexual feelings, they're going to begin repressing that part of themselves because they've been told their entire life that homosexuality is wrong. From there, you're going to get that emergence of the false self. And ultimately what all this comes down to is self-abandonment and rejection. And now the child doesn't know that they're doing this, but they are. So whatever the circumstance, the child will start to believe that a part of themselves is wrong, and they'll develop this false self which is there to protect their authentic self. It's there to protect a part of the child that they feel like they can't show to the world. So if you've been told that showing your anger or showing your authentic emotions is wrong, then you would develop a false self that is there to hide those emotions. So maybe your false self would be a people pleaser. Maybe they won't show their negative emotions because they feel like they need to act a certain way in order to get the reaction they want from the people around them. And as you can see, this all comes down to very black and white thinking. This belief that is now instilled within the child is like, I can't do this because it's wrong, that I will be rejected if I do this. Now this development of the false self might have kept the child protected as they were growing up. But when you walk into the adult world, when you walk into a world full of different relationships, different dynamics, this false self begins to falter. And more often than not, these beliefs end up becoming maladaptive because these ways that they behaved as children just don't work the same anymore in an adult landscape. And that is where issues begin to arise. That is where problems like mental health issues, physiological issues, and just general life issues start to take shape because this false self is trying to run a show that it doesn't belong in anymore. And that is what we're going to get into in the next episode. So be sure to subscribe so you can check out the next video when it's up. Check back next Wednesday for another video. Check out my blog. We talk about this stuff in a little bit more detail. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope to see you soon. See you then.